All right, so in this walkthrough, the goal of this is that we are going to practice doing some shapes in P5.js to be able to make this design. It's a very simple design, but understanding how to use lines properly, circles, and rectangles is very, very useful for us to be able to draw all kinds of stuff that we need to draw, okay? So we're just to look at and understand what we're looking at, we have a sketch that the middle horizontally is a line that runs vertically from the very top of our screen to the very bottom of our screen. We need to use that to be able to draw a line. And then we have a line that is centered vertically, that's running horizontally from the farthest left of our canvas to the farthest right of our canvas. And then we have a circle that's centered right in the middle. We have a rectangle that is drawn where the top left corner is at the middle. Okay, so that's what we are going to design in our sketch. So let's go ahead and jump to that. Okay, so I'm here in P5.js. I want to create a new sketch. I don't have anything else that I could build off of. I'm going to go to File, New. I've opened a new sketch. And this one, you guys are going to need to name it based off the instructions. And on the instructions, you guys need to name shape practice. Okay? That way you could easily look this up. So we'll go ahead and click Save. We could go into our projects when we're working on our stuff. If we forgot how to do something, we could quickly go into shape practice and see it. Okay. Now, the biggest thing when we're looking at doing shapes is that we need to learn how to read a reference. So you guys watch that video on it. Let's go and we're going to actively use it to be able to draw this stuff. So I'm going to go into references. I am doing shapes. Okay. So we want to do a line, a circle, and a rectangle. Okay. Squares are just a special type of a rectangle. For all intents and purposes, we can use rectangle whenever we want a rectangle and a square. Okay. So we're going to do lines, circles, and squares. So the first one that we do, let's do a line. Now we see some examples. Okay, this is an example of a method. It's a type of extraction. I don't have to draw each pixel individually. I can do this and give it the information it needs, and it's going to draw it for me. Okay, so here I can give it the X and Y starting point and the X and Y ending point, and it will just draw it. Okay, that's what we want to see. Now, and most of the references are going to be some type of description and then syntax for proper format for you to be able to use it. Okay, so this draws a line between 2 points. If called with only 4 parameters, it'll draw a line in 2D with a width of 1 pixel. The width can be modified by using stroke weight. A line cannot be filled. Okay, therefore the fill function won't do anything to the line. If you want to change the line color, you got to use stroke. Okay, and I could click on either one of these to get more details on that. Now when I'm looking at the syntax, I see line. Here's x1, y1. That would be the point for one end of the line. x2, y2 would be the point of the second, the other end of the line. Okay, we are just doing 2D, so we only need to worry about x and y. If we were doing a 3D, we would do x, y, and z. Okay, so using that, I could actually just copy this syntax right here, go to my P5.js sketch in the draw. So I need to click in between these brackets. That is how I know I'm in the draw function. I want to click after the background because I do not want to go above it. I'm going to click and just give myself some space. Okay. If you ever have where you are typing outside of these brackets, stuff will not work. You'll get errors. You need to type inside of the brackets to be inside of the draw function. So I'm just giving some space. Okay, I'm going to paste this. Okay, so I can paste, I can copy and paste. Looking here, if I highlight, I can right click and I can click copy. The shortcut would also be Control C. If I want to paste something, I can right click and I can go to paste, or the shortcut would be Control V. Shortcut keys are your friend when programming. So here is a perfect example of how to write this. I need to always finish lines with semicolons. Let's give our first point. Now we mentioned looking at our picture that it needs to be directly in the middle. Here we're going to draw a vertical line first, so in the middle. So if this, in terms of x going from left to right, the very top corner is 0, 0. All right, this is my x right there. Now, working to the right, this would be my largest x. So my canvas width. So I could look at my canvas width and see what that is, but the best way to write it is always to get used to writing it as width. We're going to do a built-in variable, width. All right, x is 0 to the width. Okay, so halfway in between, instead of me trying to do any math, I'm just going to use this word right here and then divide that word, because that's a variable, it's holding a value. I'm going to say width divided by 2. Okay, so I will have other stuff that's walking through some of this in more detail, but that's all right. So our x halfway would be width divided by 2. Okay, make sure that you're not typing with any capitalizations, and we should be good. All right, now let's look at where we want the y. The y is the very top. Now, the top of the screen is always going to be 0 for the y. It's backwards from what we're used to. So the very top is 0. The very bottom is going to be represented as the height. Okay, that is the height of my canvas. It is a variable that holds the max value of the y that I can put in there. So if I wanted anything in between, I do math on the variable itself. Makes things a lot easier. So 0 to height. So I want to start, my first point is going to be here. It's going to be that width divided by 2 because I'm splitting the canvas in half. And I'm starting at the very top of my canvas, so that should be 0. So let's go back. And this will be 0. Now working my way, doing the same thing, because it's going to be a vertical line, I'm going to still have the same width divided by 2. And then my largest y, the very bottom part, that's going to be my height. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that there, height. Now if I click play, I see a line. That's what I want to see. Okay, now we want to do another one that's this way. So doing the same thing, I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste and then make changes. Okay, so if we are starting from, so this is my, let's write a comment so we can stay organized, vertical line. Well, this will be my horizontal line, horizontal. Oops, we got to make sure we're writing with our slashes. Horizontal line. Okay, so we want to start from here, which is splitting halfway from the top and the bottom. So that would be, in terms of my x, I am at the farthest left, so the smallest x that I could be. In terms of my y, I am at halfway in between the height of my canvas. So that would be height divided by 2. Now over here, I'm still, in terms of my x, I am now at the largest x that I could be, which is going to be my width. And I am halfway between the height of my canvas. So I can put this at height divided by 2. Ooh, let's make sure I'm writing it right. Now we go ahead and run this. Now we have a set of crosshairs. So we have split this effectively in half. That looks good. All right, now we need to do our circle. Let's go ahead and write a comment for our circle. And we'll go to the reference and look that up. Remember, we can just click help and click reference. But since we already got it open, now I could go and click reference and search for it again, or I could just type circle. All right. Again, I see the function to make it, that's abstracted to make it so it's easier to draw. I see some examples, I see a description, and I see syntax. Okay, quickly looking at this. Circle, draw a circle on the screen. A circle is a closed shape. It is the set of all points in a plane are a given distance from a given point. Okay, that's fine. There is something that we want to make sure. When we put this x and y, what does it do? So when I'm looking at this, it says, by default, the first two parameters sets the location of the center of the circle. The third sets the diameter, not the radius, the diameter. Okay, so this X and Y, these first ones, that is where I want the center to be. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this so I have proper syntax. I'm going to paste it and finish it off with a semicolon. Now, I want the center, which means I'm halfway with the width of the canvas and halfway with the height of the canvas. So that's what I need to do. For my X, I am halfway on the width. For my Y, I am halfway on the height. For the diameter, I want you to put 100. Okay, let's go ahead and run. Check that out. That is exactly centered. All right, so we're good. Now, let's go ahead and do a rectangle. Okay, we wanted that top left corner right here. Now, let's go look that up. Go to our reference. We're going to come up here and we're going to go to rectangle, see what we can get. We can't just look up for rectangle because that's not actually in there. So we got to look up what it might be because it's abbreviated as rect. Okay, rect is to draw a rectangle. All right, so let's look because there is more of a variation on how we can write it. The syntax looks like a lot more. Okay, this draws a rectangle on the canvas. It's a four-sided shape. By default, the first two parameters, so that's my X and Y, set the location of the upper left corner. The third sets the width, the fourth sets the height. Okay, so these four, width and height. Okay, these are the corners if I wanted to round the corners. You could look more details into that. If I give it only 3. Now notice, see how we see this right here with the square brackets? That stands for optional. Okay. If I don't give it the height and I only give it 3, an X, Y, and a W, then that will create a rectangle with the width and the height the same. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and copy this, but we only need the X, the Y, and the W. We're not going to use any of this because we're making a square. Okay, so I copy this. I'm going back to my edit right here. I'm going to paste. Now, I don't need any of this, so I'm going to delete that. I still need to make sure I keep pairs of my parentheses, and I don't need that parentheses, the comma, because there's nothing else. All right, so I want it, though, at the top left. What is the top left? Well, we already know the center of the circle right here is this width divided by 2 and height divided by 2. And I want, based off the picture, the top left to be at that center. So that's what we want to do. So I can easily just copy this right here. So I'm just going to highlight, that's my X and my Y. I'm going to Control C to copy, Control V to paste. Okay, now I'm going to actually do the same width as what I did for my circle. So 100. I need to finish all my lines with a semicolon. Let's go ahead and run. That is my project right there. Okay, so I have, let's look at our picture, see what we got. We have 2 lines, a vertical and a horizontal line. We have a circle. We have a rectangle. And the rectangle is centered with the top left in the center of the canvas. Okay, so this is it. That's the finish of my walkthrough. We can go ahead and click Save. We're going to go ahead and click Share. Remember, you're clicking here to copy to clipboard. You're going to paste the link in the Create tab as a link so I can click on it. Okay, I want to see 4 comments and I want to see 4 lines of code for drawing a line, a circle, and a rectangle. All right, good luck. Have fun.